Hi, our guest today is Joshua Lioce, who is running for the one-year unexpired term on the Board of Assessors in the April 4th Milford Town election. Josh, welcome.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank you both. I appreciate you having me on.
So we're going to ask you our usual standard first question for all candidates.
Yes.
Why are you running for assessor?
I have a desire to become more involved with the town of Milford, and looked at several positions and seats and boards over the last several years, and Board of Assessors was something that jumped out at me as a perfect fit, a natural fit with my background and my experience. And being involved with this town for several years through charitable efforts and my own personal business, moving my business back into town, it was kind of a natural step for me to become involved at a different level and be able to continue to give back to the community that's given so much to me already. So.
Now, you're going to be involved in zoning issues and that kind of stuff, so how familiar are with the zoning regulations?
No, I would not be involved in any zoning issues. That would be the zoning board. Board of Assessors doesn't handle any of the zoning.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Oh.
No.
In Upton they do, in Milford. And
No, they don't.
Well, they tell you whether or not you can build something in an area.
That's the building department, not the assessors.
Oh,
Well, that's
right.
okay. Al, Al,
Hello, wake
that's
up.
okay.
I'm just trying to
Listen, you're trying to catch me. You did a good job.
yeah.
No, what I was going to ask you is most of the process of what is called mass appraisal, not Massachusetts appraisal, but mass as of lots of things,
Right.
is set by the Department of Revenue. So
Correct.
you're not really doing, and you have a great office that does it. So
Correct. Great office.
you're more of a member of a 3-person advisory board.
It's really what it is, and I know you know from a personal standpoint, Mendon, different towns have different functions, and you're
Yes.
obviously a Board of Assessor.
We're more
assessor,
hands-on in Mendon.
much more
'cause
hands-on.
We don't have the staff that you have in Milford.
True.
We'd love to have the
I
staff that you
know.
have in Milford.
There's an excellent staff in the office. I mean, Jen, who's the principal assessor, the assessor administrator, she's fantastic.
Well known throughout the state, by
I
the
mean,
way.
just well educated in that field, does a great job. A great staff of people working in the office with her. I believe we have 4 full-time.
Yes, you
So
do.
we have a great office that's already doing great things. The Board of Assessors in Milford will really oversee the office, review abatements, make sure that everything's being implemented properly from the state mandates. And it's a little different functionality, I think, from town to town. So.
Yeah. I would think, though, that your realty skills might actually help in terms of trends in how property values are going.
I think that's one of the biggest assets is my experience. You know, although learning the valuation from an assessor standpoint or how town assessments are done for taxation reasons is completely different than what maybe a real estate process would be for resale, or even what an appraiser would be doing for defending bank
It is
values.
completely different for appraising. All the assessor education classes I've taken, usually the teacher will ask if there are any realtors in there. Because, you know, it's quite common to have a realtor on a Board of Assessors
Yeah,
around the state.
Yep.
They'll usually ask how many realtors are here, and they'll say, throw out everything you learned about
Property valuation.
valuing a property from a real estate point of view.
Correct.
You're valuing it from the standpoint of other sales
Correct.
in the town, typically if it's a house, and then if it's commercial property, you're doing it on either sales income or I can't remember the other category to get a look at it. So,
Yep. So I think one of the biggest things is, like you said, my understanding of the trends in town, the trends of different types of property, single families versus condos versus industrial commercial. And yes, there are several towns throughout the state who have at least one, if not more than one, realtor on the board, sometimes real estate appraisers, sometimes real estate attorneys. I actually spoke to the assessor in Sturbridge, who has 2 realtors on her board, and she said they've been on for 20 plus years, and she loves the fact that they're on there because of the different input that they're able to provide with the real estate knowledge of the, because it's so micro-local and
yeah,
the
well,
trends
for
are so local.
instance, when the classification hearing was held last fall, you found that residential property values in Milford stayed pretty much flat,
Yeah.
and commercial went up.
Yep.
You know, and residential had climbed back up over the last couple of years from the recession,
Right.
but now they were flat in, what would that be? That would be calendar 50.
Calendar 50. Yep.
That's the other thing you have to remember. You may be in a fiscal 17, but you're dealing with calendar 50.
In the rears, right.
So next year is fiscal 18, you're actually dealing with calendar values as of January 1st of
See, he knows.
16. Well, that's,
Talking to an expert.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
How long have you been on the board?
I'm just finishing my second year in Mendon.
Awesome.
I really like it, actually. I think it's a great way to really understand how the town raises tax revenue.
Sure.
And I will tell you candidly, it was not what I thought it was when I got on. I always thought you were compared to, like, if I have the same house as my neighbor and his house sells for a lot less than what we think ours are worth, I could run in and get an abatement to get down to that level. No,
No, you can't.
that's not how it works. It's all those types of property in your neighborhood and then in the town, not
Correct.
just you and your neighbor.
Correct. And you know, leading up to this, I've spent a lot of time really trying to understand the process that one has to go through, because everybody has to go through a special class to obviously earn the.
You have 18 months to take the Department of Revenue
Exactly.
Class 101.
And so for years, people have come to me and said, geez, why is my value here? Because my assessment's there. And it's always different. Some years, if it's a down market, the assessment could be so much different than what the sales price could be, and vice versa. When the market tanked and we had a bad.
We actually have some brand new houses in Mendon where we're assessing them at $100,000 less than they're selling for, because we can't justify the price people are paying compared to what's in the town and what we find.
So it's always been something that I've always enjoyed trying to educate people on the difference, because people don't really understand that assessment and value are really two different things. So as I'm reading more, you're learning so much more about how different the process is. But still, valuation to me is something that I do every day. I enjoy it. I enjoy kind of dissecting the problem and being able to figure out the value of something. In this case, it's more just like you said, overseeing and understanding
Yeah.
what the actual office is doing. But the good part is you get to see and understand and review the abatements that come through and things like that. So
Now, have you run into anybody saying, oh, you're a realtor, that would be a conflict?
yeah, yes, I mean that's something that I have heard, and that's something that I think people just probably don't understand, that there's really not a conflict as a realtor. Anybody,
Unless you were voting on a specific abatement that you had a listing for,
correct?
which you could excuse yourself from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see any conflicts for a realtor being on the board.
I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with the ethics board, and they've been fantastic. And I called and I explained the situation. They said, there's a tremendous amount of realtors, and they explained what obviously the areas that I need to be mindful of. And more than anything, it's sometimes even the perception of there being some kind of violation or an ethical conflict. But again, the biggest thing is that if there was somebody who was, there was a chance for me to get a direct financial benefit from this person as they're going through that process, I would have to excuse myself. And as the attorney said at the ethics board, she said, there's not many people that are going to file an abatement when their house is on the market. So we don't see a lot of those issues. It more is the perception. They know that you sold their house last year. You know this person just from being in town. So you just have to be mindful of that stuff.
But you actually, in fact, will not be voting on the assessment for individual houses.
Correct.
You do them en masse,
Correct.
if you do them at all.
Right.
Certain exemptions people are entitled to by virtue of income, being a veteran, being injured.
Sure.
Those are a given. You don't have what they call chapter land in Milford. That's the forests, the farmland,
Right.
in the open space. So in reality, and typically abatements are voted on as a block, if they're like auto excise abatements. So unless your own car is in there, it's very hard to have a conflict.
Right.
I will tell you, however, from experience, that when the town goes through its revaluation cycle with the Department of Revenue, the Department of Revenue is going to send an agent in, and they will pull the 3 assessors' property value cards
And make sure.
and make sure that the three of you haven't gotten some kind of break.
That's good.
They look for things like that, but again, you'd need your two colleagues to vote it because you can't.
Right.
If you
Right.
did apply for something for your own house.
It's something that I was very mindful of getting into this process. As someone who is in real estate, owns a real estate company, we don't have widgets. We don't sell anything retail. All we have is our credibility, our reputation in the community. So we take that very seriously, even on how we approach our own business and how we approach our transactions. We never want to cross any ethical lines that it could even call into question the way we practice real estate or the way we approach the business. And it's going to be the same thing for the town of Milford.
Okay. Now, I happen to know you because in full disclosure, your company handled helping me buy my house.
Yes.
And help my
Which was a
significant...
fantastic process and transaction.
Yes, and help my significant other buy her house as well. So, we'll just clear that off the table.
Sure.
But what about the people that don't know you in Milford? Why don't you tell us about yourself as a person? I know you're a lifelong resident, except for those one or two years you somehow strayed and went to Mendon.
I ventured out to Mendon for 2 years and realized I got to get the heck back home.
Well, yeah, but as soon as you had children, you brought them right back.
Right back home. 37 years old, have been in Milford for 35 of the 37 years. Born and raised, third generation. Family has been in business and different businesses in this town for many years. I followed those
You can
footsteps
give
of
Dad
my
a
own.
plug.
Dad, yes, my father owns Milford Woodworking, started by my grandfather, both Rudy, and my brother Rudy owns Old Time Auto Sales, also sewer commissioner here in town.
Okay.
And just a family of small business entrepreneurs, good people, hardworking people, as we talked about, very ethical people.
Have you served on any town board before?
I am a town meeting member.
Okay.
Many, many years ago, as a young man, I was the first youth center director here in town at the ripe old age of 18. So I spent a few years doing that when I was going through my college years, trying to become a criminal justice graduate. And then
You wanted to be a cop, didn't
I
you?
did for many years. That was my dream. And now I am a prolific real estate agent in the town of Milford.
That's good, prolific. I like that word, prolific.
I believe it was used in an article, so I went with it. Married,
That's good.
Have a good sense of humor.
Yes, I do. I try to. I've been married for, oh my goodness, 12 years, going on 13 this year, to my beautiful wife, Julie. I have two beautiful children, Ava and Nicholas, both in school here in town. I've been owner and operator of Lioce Properties for 14 years this year. Whew.
Wow.
Has it been that long?
To January 2003, we opened our doors.
Wow.
So, I mean,
Wow,
that
that's-
went by quick, right?
Oh, wow.
So, have been in downtown Milford for more than 70% of that time. I did venture up into Mendon during my Mendon years, but quickly got back to Milford. Reinvested my business into downtown, purchased a building in downtown Milford, relocated our business there back 2.5 years ago, and it's great being.
Has it been
right-
2.5 years?
I know. Bought it in
Wow.
2014, end of 2014.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a lot of fun, and this is the town that I'm proud to live in, proud to be in, and I want that to continue. I want to continue all the good works that this town has been doing over the past 5, 10 years, 15 years and beyond. I think we're heading in a good direction. I think this town has so much more potential than what we're doing. Not that we're behind, but I think there's so much more left. And I feel like this is my way that I can give my small part back to Milford, and starting in this board and being able to give my knowledge and my experience, and if that hopefully helps at a high level, I'll be excited. But that's really, ties
you're
back
also-
into your first question of why I'm doing this.
Yeah, well, you're also a Rotarian.
Brother
you've been-
Rotarian.
Yeah, you've been engaged in community philanthropic stuff for some time.
For some time. I mean, the Rotary Club in Milford is really one of the first things I became involved in, and probably one of the best things that I'm still involved in regards to their impact on the community, the relationships I've created from that club, and the impact the impact they have is probably slightly under the radar, although I think President Al has done a great job. Past President Al did a great job for many years.
Well, we've done, I mean, as you well know, we're trying to get more engaged in the community, more visible. So much more involved in community stuff.
and
than
that-
that.
I think all the service organizations, for want of a better name, like the Lions, the
Yep.
Rotary,
Lions do great work.
Yes.
the Masons.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of what else I know.
Are you a Mason
Does a
over
great
in
job.
Mason and John Warren Lodge
Yeah,
in
in
Hopkinton.
Hopkinton?
Yep. So doing some different chapter work in Milford right now. So going through Montgomery, which is I mean,
Oh, my son's a member of Montgomery.
I mean, that's another kind of treasure in the town of Milford that
Yeah,
not many
absolutely.
people know about is the.
I don't think people realize the amount of good things your organizations, plural, do for the towns they're in. That they're sort of the unsung heroes. Well, they're there, we know they do something,
You're right,
but
right. And I think that's also a reflection of the people who are involved in these organizations.
Absolutely.
They aren't, it's not about the headlines or the notoriety. As much as the word, I think altruism is very hard to really follow. Not that you're
Altruistic.
purely altruistic, but
No, but
these people aren't worried about, hey, look at all the good we did. It's just doing it. And I learned so much from the senior members who are above me who, we don't want, before we even started putting stuff in the paper, and that was under the tutelage under Al's presidency, really making sure we promoted what we were doing so that people wanted to become involved.
right.
But the people before that, they just wanted to do good works and get it done.
well, it's imperative that that the community know about those kind of things.
Yes.
That those the people that give back to the community, because I think it's part of what makes Milford such a great place.
Absolutely.
Is that there are a lot of people engaged, a lot of people involved. The diversity of this community is remarkable.
Is one of its benefits.
And it's also the community is has a broad spectrum of every nationality. I mean, it's really
And there's opportunities to get involved at every level.
yes, absolutely.
And what I try to teach my children is that it's okay, it's cool, it's a good thing to become involved at different levels. Starting from whether you're in business or you work,
Whatever.
that's different. But your time, giving back to your time, your church, your organizations, and now, like I said, at this level, this is different. But this is something that I want my children to continue to be proud to live in this town
Right.
and have their families here in this town, because there's so much positive benefits of being multi-generational and having the connections and having the relationships and being able to not go far to see friends and family. I mean, to some people that has huge value, and I'm one of those people. So I want my children to at least have the option of being very proud of staying here in Milford if they choose to.
So this is your first sojourn into town government.
This is my first sojourn outside of the town meeting member. This is my first.
Well, at town meeting, you just show up and complain.
Well, you
No,
have
no,
to be
it-
elected in Milford.
Yeah,
so-
no, I understand it.
Listen intently and vote passionately.
Ah, that's good. I like that. I like that.
Actually, if you want to talk about that, the level of debate at the town meetings has actually declined from where it was, say, 30, 40 years ago, where you used to have a lot of people talking. And it's sort of the same few get up now on the issues, on every issue.
It's
And you can actually predict what they're going to say.
I think it's the same in every community.
I'm sure it is, and
Right.
I'm sure that there are times where the people who get up to voice their positions and their thoughts, they do a great job, and sometimes they maybe just go too long because they lose the audience. I found that the people who have a great impact at town meeting or in any, I think, political arena can get to the point fairly quickly, show that they're passionate about that position,
And then go.
and walk off. It's sometimes counterproductive when you're up there for 20
Yeah,
minutes.
the goal is to get your point across, make sure you
Hard
say it 2 or 3 times,
Hard, fast.
and then bing.
Yeah,
you're out of there.
absolutely.
I think the longer you stand there, the less people listen, to tell you the
Yeah, I
truth.
think you're right.
But
I think you're right.
Well, I think I truly believe that I'm really glad, happy to see. I think it's great that you're getting involved and
Thank
engaged
you.
in town government, because one of the things I've noticed, at least in Upton, is there are not enough young people, not enough people
Right.
jumping into the fray to be involved and engaged in town government, and
Absolutely.
that's what makes the town work.
So, one of the things
that I agree with.
Yeah.
Getting candidates to step forward. Not that I want all incumbents to be tossed out, but it's remarkable that very few people challenge incumbents, or very few people step forward until well, in your case, someone passed away
Yeah,
for the seat you're running
unfortunately, yeah.
for, which is, you know.
And I think that not that the people who are on these boards or committees or active in town government are old or out of touch. I think naturally after so much time, you may just lose the passion and the focus to really try to make that change if you want to. But sometimes some of the people who are on these boards who have been on for a long time are doing great work.
Yeah, well, it's
Doing
I think
fantastic
Right,
work.
and you know who they are.
And you know who they are.
I think it's important to have not only those senior people, but the younger people, because it's almost a passing down of information, which is
absolutely.
historically the way things have happened on infinitum, because the older people pass down either in writing or by verse or by word, the history, and that's what happens.
I
in town
couldn't agree more. The situation that if I'm lucky enough to win the town's vote and become the next Board of Assessor, I have 2 senior members on the board, Mr. Nero, Mr. Arcudi, who've been on for quite some time, who know the ins and the outs, who understand the process, and who can definitely pass on, a
But
tremendous amount of
you'd
knowledge.
be the only business person
I would be.
or
I would.
business owner,
Correct. Correct.
But
which is an interesting perspective when
well,
you think about it.
the thing that's
I
important
agree.
the thing that's important, you bring some experience to the table that heretofore hasn't been there.
Sure.
And so you bring an element that can contribute, and you're going to learn from the guys who've been there for a while. So it's a great
I
thing.
feel it's a perfect mix. I'm excited to get involved. I'm excited to get rolling, get started. And like I said, one of the most exciting things for me is being able to have an already there knowledge base, an existing knowledge base of property valuation. I mean, some people look at me like, you like to just value property too much. Because I'll get into it. I really enjoy it. It's like,
Well,
like I said, it's
again, what's interesting is, I've talked to you offline about the course you have to take. And what's interesting is that course that the Department of Revenue makes a Board of Assessor member take, that will give you the delineation between the realtor side and the mass appraisal side very quickly. It actually step you through the things the people in the office do so you understand it. But it's really, a foundation course that doesn't affect what a board member does every day. I have to say that having gone through it. It's nice to know what the people in the office do and what your role is, but it's really an overview that just says, okay, this is what they do, this is what you do.
Yep. And that's not a bad thing. You want
No,
to
and as
understand all
I tell
aspects of
people,
it.
since it's an open book computer test, there's no way you can fail. They even tell you that.
I'll do great then.
No, that shouldn't be a problem.
As opposed to the
long-
more
and then-
advanced classes.
And then you'll have to take the ethics exam every 2
Yes.
years. You got to do that.
But
For me, it's exciting. It's a new chapter.
Good.
I'm the kind of guy who I need to be
Challenged.
I need to be busy. I need to be challenged. I need to have several things that I'm focused on. My wife always says, just when I think you're getting to a point where you're caught up, you'd like to throw something else on, and it's just because I feel that I'm most effective when I'm busy.
Now, what's Julie think about you?
Fully supportive.
Good.
She knows I've been
That's
wanting
important.
to do something for some time.
That's important.
Yeah. So she's
and
she's
this
great.
sort of fits your lifestyle as opposed to something much more time intensive like the school committee or
Sure.
Selectmen
or selectmen or
all awesome, wonderful positions that are required in town, and things that I've considered, many other things that I've considered.
but you've got 2 little kids.
But I have
so.
2 little kids, and I want to be able to do what I do very well, have the time to commit to it, and still have time to
Be on your boat.
Be a dad. Oh, the boat's gone.
Oh, really? You got? Oh,
So-
no.
The boat's sold. Yeah,
Well,
we
I
got-
could just tell you, having been a selectman when I had a 2-year-old and a newborn, not the time to be a selectman
right.
if you want to see your kids grow.
Right. Right.
Much more time probably would have been, when they were, or now when they're in their 20s. But really, I mean, I learned that lesson very quickly. That you're never home.
And that's the priority for me is being able to make sure that I have plenty of time to continue to be the father that I've wanted to be and been able to come through time and
It's very good that you picked this particular area to be involved in, because I was on the school committee when my son was in high school. As a matter of fact, I handed him his diploma. So
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, but I missed part of the whole thing. So I think it's great. I think you pick the right thing, a thing that you feel comfortable with, a thing that you're good at, a thing you bring experience to the table. It's great. I think it's fantastic.
Something to be excited about.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be doing it for the right reasons. Anytime somebody goes out for a position, you want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Okay.
And I believe wholeheartedly that this is the right spot for me.
Okay. We got a couple of minutes left. I just want to change gears for a minute.
You can change
Because
gears.
I
sure, sure.
realized
Just don't change clothes.
you're a storefront Main Street business owner,
Storefront
Ooh,
Main Street
yeah.
business owner.
Good question.
okay? What do you just feel about the idea of trying to revive the downtown area? And you've run it, you know, your building is exceptional.
Right.
I mean, you know, you have stuff in the window people can go play with, the listing computer and all that,
Absolutely.
so you can draw people up. But what's missing from downtown that would help make it thrive? More places like yours, or more eateries, more?
I think restaurants. I think places for people to interact. Okay.
How about second-story apartments or condominiums or whatever you want to, you know?
That's probably an area that I'd want to understand more what an impact would be in the sense of traffic and those types of things. I think one of the biggest things that would be a benefit is additional parking. And I always point to Marlboro when they went through their revitalization.
With that giant garage downtown?
When they and not that you want a garage in the middle of downtown, but they did some things and they took an approach of really trying to address some traffic patterns, and B, revitalize their kind of historic area of downtown. And by putting in parking, by unfortunately using, I know a hot topic right now is eminent domain, but by using that process and kind of getting rid of, and I don't want to call it blight areas or anything like that, but areas that were just really obsolete in the sense of their aesthetics, their functionality, and so many other areas. They were able to get some parking, bring in some developers, attract some A-B tenants who brought in some national business, some food, some restaurants, and really created a new area that people were proud to be going down there and shopping again and reutilizing downtown. So
I don't know if you're aware that in Marlboro has a master plan that actually, instead of saying would like the town to look this way, took the opposite approach. They said in order to keep the residential tax rate from rising, how much business and industry do we need to attract?
right.
And then they said, and what do we need to do
To get
to
that done.
clear the decks to get it in here
Yeah, work
so that it
backwards.
goes to a Marlboro and not a Milford?
Right.
And they've been operating under that assumption for the last 4 or 5 years and doing very well.
They've done I always point to them because I think it's a community that was fairly similar in the sense of probably its demographics,
Yeah.
size difference obviously, but very similar in its location to commuter routes and major routes and its demo. And they did what they needed to do, and they had their end goal and worked backwards.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is
most
one of
towns say, gee, I'd like to get a restaurant on Main Street. They said, no, we want to keep the tax rate at this level. What numbers of businesses, what numbers of industries? Then they went and said, what types?
Correct.
And then they said, okay, now how do we make it the easiest for them to get here?
Right.
I find that a fascinating approach for a town. It's a very business-like approach.
And they did
And
a
they're
great-
executing.
And they did a great job because it's something always there's always another business coming in, and that one little area by 85 and coming off of the main drag there. That area is just one section of the whole plan, because as you
Yeah.
go further down, they always have a new development going in. That attracted builders, that attracted 55 plus developments when those were all the rage in the early 2000s. And so they had some great growth. So I think taking an approach like that, not that you have to mimic them, but doing something that will attract more places where people can congregate, whether it's restaurants, whether it's nightlife, whether it's coffee shops, whether it's who knows what. There's people a lot smarter than me who are going to figure that out. But I am definitely a supporter of that. I definitely want to help in any way the town of Milford by doing that.
Last freebie, take 30 seconds and tell people why they should vote for you.
Well, first, guys, thank you again for having me on. I think people should vote for me because I am someone who is fully committed to whatever task I take on. I will approach this with passion and vigor and excitement to make sure that we continue on the path that this great department is already running on. Someone who's young and invested in the town of Milford and wants to be involved at a very high level. And will make you proud if you vote for me, that's for sure.
Thanks for
Okay.
being with us.